In the heart of the ancient woods, where the light filters through the canopy in golden shafts, lived a hunter named Silas. He wasn't a man driven by sport or conquest, but by a deep, almost spiritual connection to the forest. His movements were a silent dance with the wilderness. His senses tuned to every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig. For years, he had heard whispers of a great stag, a phantom of the forest, with antlers like a crown of gnarled branches and a coat the color of winter dawn. The locals called him the ghost of the ridge, a creature more myth than animal. This year, Silas felt a pull he couldn't ignore. It was time. He prepared not with the excitement of a kill, but with the reverence of a pilgrim. He packed sparingly, his well-worn rifle cleaned and oiled, his senses sharp. He ventured deeper into the woods than ever before, into a part of the forest that felt older, wilder, and untouched by human hands. The air grew still. The usual chatter of birds and squirrels faded into an expectant silence. For days, he tracked. He found prints larger than any he had ever seen, pressed deep into the damp earth. He saw where massive antlers had scraped against the bark of ancient oaks, leaving marks of dominance. He felt a presence, a watchful intelligence that seemed to follow his every step. It wasn't a feeling of being stalked, but of being observed, measured. Then, on the third evening, as the sun bled orange and purple across the horizon, he saw him. At the edge of a mist-shrouded clearing stood the great stag. He was magnificent, larger and more majestic than any story could capture. His antlers weren't just branches, they were a throne, catching the last light of day. His eyes, dark and profound, held a wisdom that seemed to span ages. Silas raised his rifle, his heart pounding a steady rhythm against his ribs. He centered the stag in his sights, his finger hovering over the trigger. This was the moment he had worked for, the culmination of his life as a hunter. But as he looked through the scope, something shifted. He wasn't just looking at an animal, he was looking into the soul of the forest itself. The stag didn't flinch, didn't run. He simply stood his ground, exuding an aura of serene power. In that instant, Silas saw not a trophy, but a king in his kingdom, a guardian. A profound sense of shame washed over him. Who was he to extinguish such a life, to shatter this perfect, ancient peace for a moment of pride? His hands trembled, and slowly, he lowered his rifle. As if sensing the change in the hunter's heart, the stag dipped its great head in a slow, deliberate nod. It was a gesture of acknowledgement, of understanding. Then, a strange thing happened. The forest around them began to change. The mist in the clearing swirled, not from wind, but from an unseen energy. The trees seemed to lean in, their leaves whispering secrets. The stag took a step forward, and the ground beneath its hoof seemed to hum with life. The air grew thick with the scent of damp earth and pine, but it was charged, electric. The stag's eyes began to glow with a soft, internal light, the color of moss and moonlight. He lifted his head to the sky, and from his throat came a sound that was not a bellow, but a deep, resonant chord that vibrated through Silas's very bones. It was the voice of the mountain, the river, the ancient stones. Silas watched, frozen in awe, as the stag stomped a hoof. The clearing lit up, ethereal, shimmering forms of other deer, wolves, bears, and eagles appeared in the mist, phantoms made of light and shadow. They moved around the great stag, a silent, spectral court paying homage to their king. The stag wasn't just a deer. He was a conduit, a vessel for the life force of the entire wilderness. He showed Silas the intricate web of life and death, the flow of energy that connected every living thing, from the smallest insect to the tallest tree. He showed Silas visions of seasons turning in the blink of an ice, snows falling and melting, flowers blooming and withering, the forest breathing in a great, cyclical rhythm. He saw the birth of fawns, the hunt of the wolf pack, the slow decay of a fallen giant oak giving life to 1,000 new things. It was a power not of brute force, but of existence itself, the relentless, beautiful, and terrifying power of nature. The stag turned its gaze back to Silas, and the hunter felt a wave of understanding wash over him, and knowledge that went beyond words. He understood his place in this great cycle, not as a master, but as a temporary guest in a world far older and wiser than himself. The stag showed him that true power wasn't in taking life, but in understanding it, in respecting its sacred balance. The desire to conquer was a human folly, a small and noisy ambition in the face of such eternal grandeur. As the first rays of dawn touched the clearing, the visions faded. The spectral animals dissolved back into the mist, and the stag's eyes returned to their normal, deep brown. He gave Silas one last, long look, then turned and vanished into the trees as silently as he had appeared, leaving no trace but the profound change in the hunter's soul. Silas stood there for a long time, his rifle hanging forgotten at his side. He was no longer a hunter. The man who had entered the woods seeking a trophy was gone, replaced by someone who had been granted a glimpse into the heart of the world. He turned and walked out of the forest, leaving his rifle leaning against a tree, a silent offering. He returned to his village not with a prize, but with a story. A story of a king, a forest, and the day a hunter learned to truly see. He became a protector of the woods, a storyteller, ensuring that the legend of the great stag, the spirit of the wilderness, would live on, not as a creature to be hunted, but as a power to be revered. Thanks for watching. If you were moved by this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales from the heart of the wild.